Today's video is sponsored by BetterHelp.com, and I've been with them for a long time. BetterHelp is an online platform where we found that you can effectively communicate with your therapist. Now, you begin by filling out a questionnaire, and then you'll be matched with a therapist within a couple of days. And if that match isn't ideal for you, you can certainly make an adjustment there. Now, you're going to be encouraged to journal, and also they have the availability for group therapy on a wide array of topics, and I really like that. So as the need exists, go ahead and take the necessary steps to get the help that you need. And just know that BetterHelp has a 4.5 rating on Trustpilot, so it indeed is a platform you can trust. There's a link below the video that will take you there. If you've had any ongoing exposure at all to a strongly narcissistic individual, you know that these are people who like to have control, and specifically control over you. Now, before we get too deeply into this, let's acknowledge up front, wanting to have a certain amount of control is not a bad thing. I mean, each one of us wants to have a certain amount of agency, a personal agency with respect to who we are. It can be that we have preferences or priorities that we want to pursue, and so we want to take that kind of initiative. We want to be responsible. We want to have a sense of organization. We want to maintain a good work ethic and follow through with what we know is wisest and best, and all of that implies a certain form of self-control and the ability to choose for oneself. When we talk about the control of a strongly narcissistic person, we're not talking about that form of healthy control. These are individuals who are so pathologically insecure, and they have so much rumbling on the inside of them that causes them to be dysfunctional, that when they approach the topic of control, it comes at your expense. And you know that you've been on the receiving end of their coercion and their stubbornness and their harshness and their forcefulness and their authoritarianism and overly strong opinions. All of that's part of their control. When we break it down, we can see that there are four very strong patterns, very strong problematic patterns that they hold on to that keep them stuck in this quest for unnecessary control over you. Those four patterns are fear, ignorance, intolerance, and judgment. Let's break that down. Now, first, when we talk about fear, one of the things we're going to say is that narcissists will not see themselves as being fear-based. In fact, if anything, they try to come across as being self-assured and self-confident. But when you engage with narcissists, particularly if there's any kind of difference or conflict, immediately you notice they go straight into a strong defensiveness. They're unwilling to hear you. They're unwilling to bend. They can be very secretive and evasive. They offer a lot of deflection. They don't want to have to listen to whatever it is you might have to say about them. They're systematically dishonest. And we can ask, well, what's that all about? That's their fear. Now, again, they can come across as being, the smartest person in the room or the biggest know-it-all. But basically, in all of that defensiveness and secrecy, etc., it's their way of saying, I don't want to reveal who I really am. And if you think that you have an insight into my problems or my difficulties or just my differences, that threatens me. I can't manage that. I don't know what to do when I find myself with the potential of looking human. And so, as far as they're concerned, your differentness equals rejection toward them. And it's like, oh no, that's way too threatening to me. That's way too scary. Then when we talk about the second problematic pattern, their ignorance, again, we're going to take this in a nuanced kind of way. Many people who have narcissistic tendencies can have a reasonable IQ. Narcissism or IQ is on a spectrum, just like narcissism is on a spectrum, and narcissists can show up no matter where you might be on the spectrum of intelligence. But when we talk about ignorance, maybe a better way to put it is to say these people are narrow-minded. It's like, look, I already know everything I need to know, and as a result, they don't receive input whatsoever. They have what we would refer to as a very strong binary way of thinking: black, white, all or nothing. And they have a false sense of certainty. And it's like, I know that certain things are right, and as a result, they won't take into consideration the possibility that there are other ways of looking at things. How many times have you thought, I try to explain my different perspective, and I'm not being mean or I'm not being argumentative. I'm just saying, if you have one thought, I have another thought. The healthy person would say, well, let's take a look at that. Narcissists have no curiosity about who you are, and they deliberately shut off any kind of input that's going to stretch them. That's their ignorance. It's like, no, I'm a completed project, and I'm thinking, actually, no, you're not. But they must be that way. And so as a result, it sets them up for very dogmatic ways of thinking. Okay, this takes us to the third pattern, and that's their sense of intolerance. I want you to think, how many times have you engaged with that narcissistic person only to realize this individual has such a strong preconceived agenda as to how things are supposed to be. And so if you don't fit that tight agenda, then it's curtains for you. And so they're not just stubborn, they're insultingly stubborn. And that's their intolerance. And if you have too much of a difference, if you're different, or lifestyle habits, or just your looks, or your beliefs about certain primary topics, rather than thinking, well, there's room at the table for a lot of different people with a lot of different thoughts and ideas and preferences, I can handle that. Instead, they can come across in a very self-righteous kind of way, and they can be smug and condescending. That's their intolerance. It's like, well, either you're in the same club as me, or you're of no use to me, get out of here. And they're very manipulative and exploitive in that way. And then this plays right into the fourth primary problem that they have, and that's their attitude of judgment. Now, we really do live in a judgmental world. I mean, it can be something as simple as when you're a kid and you do something that's a pretty good thing, everybody's going to say, excellent, good, wonderful. And so we learn very early on that whatever we say or do is probably going to receive some kind of judgment. And by the way, and this is a nuanced kind of thing, the more you tell somebody, hey, you did really good, if you keep doing it over and over, there's a certain threat to that. And you think it's threatening to tell somebody how excellent or how good they are? Well, the implication is, well, you're going to have to keep it up, or else I'm going to have to be forced to say you're terrible. So if you make a mistake, then there's the judgment there. And they miss the whole notion of descriptive thinking. Rather than saying, well, you differ from me and I differ from you, we don't need to judge. Let's just go ahead and describe who we are. But they can't do that. They think in terms of competition: who's high, who's low, who's better, who's worse. And as a result, they're constantly clamoring to be in the top position. That becomes part of their control agenda. I have to be the best one. I have to have somebody that's beneath me. And that's, of course, where you come in. Now, let's just use a little common sense and go back and recognize each of these four pervasive patterns that narcissists have a much better alternative. For example, I mentioned they're fear-based. The opposite of that would be openness, an appropriate amount of vulnerability. And when I say appropriate, there's some individuals that you don't have the time or the energy to be completely vulnerable with. Some people aren't very safe, but you have a willingness to go in that direction. You're not threatened by another person's offensiveness, and that's huge. The defensive person, immediately when someone's being offensive, it's like, hey, you can't do that to me. And my thinking is, well, there's plenty of offensive people out there. I need to go ahead and make room for that. Healthy individuals, it's like, well, I don't really enjoy it, but I understand that people are going to be different, and it doesn't mean that I have to immediately throw up my walls. I can handle it. Or instead of the ignorance. You can see that it would be very helpful if each one of us would take the time and invest in one another in such a way that says, well, if there's a certain differentness about you, or if there's something that you say or do or think that's confusing to me, I'd like to know. And so they, rather than being ignorant, you want to have a sense of curiosity. You want to seek out the meaning behind another person's choices or preferences and priorities. There's got to be a backstory there. I'd like to know what it is. And so you like to explore. You like to be an open learner. In your own personal life, you remind yourself, I'm a fixed product. I'm not finished. And so you want to take that mindset and apply it to other individuals. And then instead of intolerance, can you have a sense of acceptance? Now, keep in mind that acceptance is not the exact same thing as condoning. Narcissists say, well, if I accept you for what you are, that means you're just going to feel like you can do whatever you want to do. Of course, they don't like that because that's their control. But when we talk about acceptance, it's like, I realize you're not going to be the same as me, and I'm okay with that. Narcissists, it's like, well, I'm okay with the fact that I'm me and you need to get over here and conform to me. They have the ultimate double standards. You need to accept me, but there's no way I'm going to accept you. The healthy person, though, says, well, in our differentness, there might be some distinctions that I need to know and incorporate with respect to you. I'm willing to do that. Be who you are, and then let's figure out if we can blend or not. Now, obviously, you may have some boundaries that'll need to be put into place when there's not much blending there. And then instead of being highly judgmental, you want to seek wisdom. It's like, well, I want to know what's the difference between right and wrong, but I don't want to do it in such a way where I pummel other individuals along the way. I don't need to be condescending. I want you to understand me, and I want to understand you. And there's a sense that says, let's bring some depth to the relationship. You see, narcissists, their need for control is so strong because they can't come to terms with those four patterns. And what we see here is we see their lousy psychological math. Fear plus ignorance plus intolerance plus judgment equals the pathological need for control. So when narcissists come at you with the attitude that says, well, I have to be in charge of you and I have to micromanage you, or they'll rage or be angry or hold a grudge or hold you in contempt because of your differentness, just understand they want you to think it's all about you. But what they're doing is they might as well be wearing a sign around their neck saying, I haven't come to terms with my unfinished business. That's what is really going on. And the longer they stay in this high control mode, you have two things that are 100% guarantee. One is they're going to have a lot of broken relationships. Two is they're going to have quite a bit of emotional instability. Now, I hope that videos like this can give you some good insight with respect to what you're dealing with. If you haven't already hit that subscribe button, please do so, and we're going to keep more coming towards you. My desire is for you to have a thorough understanding of human nature. I have indicated before that narcissism is the dark side of the human condition. The more you understand it within yourself, within other individuals, then the more you can move forward in a clean and growing kind of way. Now, many times when you're dealing with things like this, you know that you could use some therapy. And I've had so many people who have taken me up on that possibility. We have a sponsor. The link is below, betterhelp.com, where all you have to do is go in there and answer a few questions. There's a whole team of licensed professional therapists that you can choose from. It can be so helpful for you to have a sense of objectivity coming from another person where they can help you sift this out. If the need is warranted, please invest in yourself and get the necessary help. Now, on top of that, I'll invite you to look at my website. We have lots, and when I say lots of resources. Now, primary among my resources are my online courses, and each one has at least 25 teaching videos with handouts and questions. We have anger games. We have This Is Me about boundaries. We have Ready, Set, Connect about healthy connections, and then we also have Free to Be, finding yourself despite those controllers. And so it would take a lot of work from you. The cost on those is roughly not even as much as 2 counseling sessions, but it's a lot of work, and hopefully it can have a real therapeutic end for you, as well as my books and articles, etc. Narcissists have to be in control, and they want to make you think that you're the problem. What I'm hoping you can see, no, they're carrying a lot of garbage, and that's what's really happening. The more you can maintain that objectivity, I'm hoping it allows you to pursue peace despite their inability to join you in that process.